Hello. Today I want to talk about Anna Karenina. Um, some people says it's Tolstoy's greatest novel. I still have to confirm that since I haven't read yet War and Peace. But yeah, I am gonna be very brief and I'm not gonna give much detail, both because there is overwhelming amounts of information in YouTube and book reviews and commentaries and recommendations about this book, and also because I'll probably make a video later on. I have a book club, and whenever everyone else catches up and finishes the book, I'll probably just like take a couple of people, sit down, and talk about it in more depth. So, to prepare for Anna Karenina, I have read both How Much Land Does a Man Need and A Confession, just to get an idea of Tolstoy. But this is later on. I found out that this is later Tolstoy. This is Tolstoy in his more sort of like highly moralist stage, and maybe on a stage that once I get acquainted with, it will not please me as much as the previous one where he wrote novels did. That is something that I still have to confirm, but it's just a feeling I had, especially reading his short stories, on like the one on the shoemaker and how much land does a man need and what men live for. I think it's the other one, which felt like they are interesting fables, but they felt like they were created with the sole purpose of communicating a moral or a teaching. Obviously, as fables, they succeed in doing that, and they are entertaining because they are that short. But if Anna Karenina were that, if it were just a novel trying to give me a message of Tolstoy's way of looking at the world and nothing else, then I would not have liked this book, and I have. I think it's one of the best novels I have read. I haven't read that many novels. I read way more non-fiction. Again, I don't like that category. But yeah, let's say I read way more philosophy. But it's definitely one of the most successful in terms of its complexity. How many themes are linked together? How pretty much all the characters are three-dimensional. To be honest, my favorite characters were not main characters. I did really like Anna Karenina. I liked Sergei. I liked Dolly. The story is basically. I did not like Levin so much, even though people tend to love Levin. I definitely didn't like Bronsky. Yeah, but that's if you have read the novel. The novel it's basically about you could say two people particularly. One is Levin and the other one is Anna Karenina, and their two lives and how they begin and how they end. You could say that Levin's life is in crescendo towards happiness, and Anna Karenina is going the other way around. And through both of their lives, through both of their decisions, and many other characters' decisions, you can see Tolstoy's sort of like both insight into his society. There's a lot of societal critique. There's many contrasts. Not only these two people and other people, there are also contrasts with each other, but also places like St. Petersburg and Moscow, or the countryside and the city. All of those things are in conflict and in conversation throughout the story. And the point, I guess, is partially to like give you to defend one over the other. I feel like definitely, for example, the countryside is way more valued for man's achievement of a meaning for life or anything like that in Tolstoy's eyes than the city. And they're also like, he has this sort of like also austere way of looking at the search for happiness. Is not glory, is nothing too pompous or extremely dramatic, but it's more like arduous work. So one of my favorite scenes is when Levin, who's like maybe I should have said that Levin and all of the characters are aristocratic. This is a 1800s novel, and it's an adultery novel above all. Anna Karenina is the one that perpetrates the adultery. I don't want to say much about the actual plot because I will break it completely when I talk with in the next video I do about this book. I'll definitely talk about it with spoilers, but not now. Now I just want to say that yeah, I mean, she's definitely committing adultery. I think that's not a secret and it doesn't destroy anything about the plot. But yeah, it's basically concerned with the themes of the time. There's the theme of progress that I've heard people say that it's symbolized through the train. Like there's a train at the beginning of the book and a train at the end of the book, and the train of the end of the book is the end of a story that started with a train at the beginning of the book. And that's all I can say without spoiling anything. And yeah, it's aristocracy. There is a lot of talk about the Tsar. Like there is definitely this. It's very elitist, and it also criticizes formalism and the appearances and the hypocrisy of that society. And that's my main reason to empathize with Anna Karenina above any other character. Not that she was my favorite, but I empathize with her more than any other character. Is that her tragedy is not her decisions. It's not what she did. Is that she didn't want to be a hypocrite in the society that she was living in, that she wanted to still live and embrace the decisions that she made. Other people did the things that Anna did as well in that same society, in this same book, and nothing happened to them because they did it with shame or they did it hidden from society. They didn't embrace it. In that sense, I think that Anna Karenina is a tragic hero in that sense because she's rebelling against society. But that's a reading I give it. In terms of translation, I definitely recommend for English readers Pavering Bolokonsky, I think it's called. It's this one. I also read the first few chapters of the Oxford one, the one from Rosbaum or something like that. The blue one with the blue hardcover Rosbaum, I think it's called, the Oxford edition. But I discovered in my search for the perfect edition and the perfect translation, I discovered this one in Spanish, Ana Karenina. I don't know from whom is it given. Yeah, Victor Gallego Ballestero. And I just found it incredibly successful. I found it really good. I wanted to talk a bit about, like, I also really like that the cover, the cover art is for me a reference to a scene when two characters are in Italy and a portrait that is made of one of them. I couldn't find. I mean, I couldn't find. It just came up now. Like I wish I could have talked about the cover artist. I just can't find it right now. But yeah. I mean, I'll keep with this sort of like improvised style that all my videos have had until the moment, and maybe Pepe Mol de Alba. That's the cover artist. So yeah, I mean, like, I think this is an amazing cover. It's definitely my favorite cover. In terms of the edition, it's a paperback, but obviously this is only relevant for anyone who's able to read in Spanish. So leave it aside. This is also an amazing edition. I could compare translations if I got back the Rosebound one, but maybe that I will do in the next video. All I wanted to say about this novel is that it is incredibly important. Many people consider it the best Russian novel. Other people says the best novel. Other people says the best 1800s novel, the best Tolstoy novel. You get all of that. It might be, in terms of classics, one of the best classics. I don't know. I haven't read enough classics to say that. I personally hope that this is not the best novel ever written in terms of quality, because although it is very complex and everything, I expect more. I expect more for something that is called the best novel ever written. That's all I'm gonna say. I liked a lot how the book resembles also, like, I feel like, you know, in a sense, and that is the only reason why I can understand that people says that this book has changed their lives. I don't know what age you have to read this for this to change your life. It certainly did not change my life. it was a very interesting book and very entertaining book. And the moments in which it is not entertaining, when you see like Tolstoy sort of like pressing the brakes, it looks intentional. Tolstoy sort of like suspends time and suspends the drama for a moment. Anytime there's a peak of intensity, he stops everything down just to show that um that that's how life is, that it's not just all drama and action, that most of the times boredom occupies a huge part of what's going on. In that sense, he reminds me of Chekhov. I was thinking of I thought of Ivanov, for example, when I was reading through the story, and I felt these sort of like pauses more and more and more until I realized that they were intentional, and they were always happening after a moment of like high intensity, because like it's very hard to keep a whole book up there. I feel like other books manage to do that, but when they do that, it's maybe not as relatable as a novel, because most lives don't do that. Most lives are not all the time up there. There's like this moment of the peak of intensity of the drama, and then it descends. There's just like long periods of silence and nothing happening, and then it goes up again. The problem that I could see Tolstoy sometimes maybe forcing it, like a character would die, and he would skip the moment of like the character's reactions about this character death, and move forward a few months to not keep, like, once the character dies for whatever reason, you get a peak of intensity. And I mean, this is all me sort of like rambling. This is my first reading of Anna Karenina, okay? But I'm trying I'm trying to not just give it its merit for no reason. I'm trying to be critical about it, and I could feel that, like, he would skip moments of intensity if they came consecutively after a moment that already had a lot of intensity, so that he can sort of like suspend the drama and slow things down. And in that sense, like, sometimes it makes sense, but if a character just died and you just skip completely the reaction of those characters for whom that character was important, in order to sort of like show that that the action is not all about life, it's like you're really forcing it, because the reality is that after this character's death, many other characters would go through a series of crises that you're just like skipping, and yes, you sort of like keep them on the background, because even though it's months have passed, they are still present there. If someone knows what I'm talking about towards the end of the book, but I don't want to mention characters' names or anything like that, because all of that I will do in the previous video. But yeah, like, I mean, read the book. Make your own mind. I will have to reread this book at some point, of course. It's Tolstoy, it's Anna Karenina. Anything that has ever been called the best novel of whatever should be read more than one time. But yeah, I mean, like, it's not the best. It's not the most enjoyable read I've had. It's incredibly easy for being a Russian novel, and for being a 18th century novel, and for being a novel of this size, and having the title of best Russian novel, or best novel ever made, is incredibly easy to read. Like, this is a super accessible book. So far I've only read a couple more of Tolstoy's works, but I don't think that you need any preparation to read this. You can just like sit down and read it. In terms of reading pace, this book can be read in a week. It can also be read in a month. Looks my friends who are also reading this book with me will take more than a month, but for me it has taken approximately a month, and it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel slow. It felt slow when it needed to feel slow, but it felt like appropriate speed. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything else because everything has been said about it. I just wanted to say that it is absolutely a recommend.